Hayden here on Likeable Science with us now. We, every Friday, broadcast this show to help promote the idea that science is an integral, fun, and interesting part of everyone's life, that we should regard science with joy and delight, and it should not be considered something foreign, abstract, or scary. So we talk about all kinds of different things here on Likeable Science, and by the way, I'm your host, Ethan Allen. We're broadcasting here from the ThinkTech studios in Pioneer Plaza. We have talked about diverse subjects on Likeable Science in the past. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about dark matter, and we've talked about solar energy, and we've talked about decomposing bodies, and we've talked about insects. So we've covered a wide range of things, and we're gonna make something that I hope is fun and accessible today. My guest is Hayden Hopkins here. Hayden is the CEO of Pedal Power Hawaii, and also works for Kupu, right? Which is a nonprofit that deals with conservation issues.
Correct.
Excellent, excellent. So tell us briefly the pedal power concept.
So basically, the pedal power concept is using these bicycles, which you get the audience or whatever event you're at to actually pedal these bikes, and they create electricity that you can use for, say, whatever, weddings, baby luau's, concerts, film festivals. Kind of our goal is to make public events powered by pedal power, or basically powered by human power.
Excellent. Right. Now, I saw one of these. You were at the TEDx talks recently and had people powering part of the TEDx talks, at least. That was great to see. So it's pretty amazing to see these bicycles that the participants, members of the audience, volunteers, generate power. And so I guess you've gotten, has there been some sort of technological advances recently that have made this whole thing work better? Can you, without getting too technical, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I don't know if I really could get too technical anyway, but basically it's the back hub on the back wheel is what is capturing your energy and transferring it out through a cord. And that hub, over the last couple of years, they've been able to work with engineers to really make it really as efficient as we can, so that you're not wasting any energy as you're pedaling. All the energy you're putting in as a human is getting transferred into that hub and out. And so we actually, or a buddy of mine up in Oregon with these same bikes was able to break the Guinness World Record. He produced about a half a kilowatt in 4 hours, which, for those of you who don't know what that looks like, that's about equivalent to a photovoltaic solar panel.
Oh, okay.
So he, I think he doubled the previous Guinness World Record by doing that. So the efficiency is definitely, just how solar panels took kind of a while to get that exponential growth. I think bikes will end up doing the same.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's very exciting. So these bikes, you wouldn't want to take them out and ride them down the street particularly.
Oh, you absolutely can. You absolutely can.
Okay.
And in fact,
you just unplug them and...
Yep, just unplug them, and actually you can keep them plugged in and be able to power the speaker on the back of your bike. And so these bikes are actually cargo bikes, and the beauty of it is that they're able to carry a couple 100 pounds on the back of them. So we've actually seen people do live on-bike concerts where, and this is back in Eugene, Oregon, where they're riding through the town with a drummer on the back of the bike and a singer on another bike, and they're being amplified by the power of the pedaling.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Mobile music.
Exactly.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. And you say that basically these bikes, if you get a series of them and hook them up, presumably in parallel, not in series. I do remember a little basic electricity. That something like 10 bikes could run a fair-sized outdoor concert.
Yeah, so right now we have 2 bikes here in Hawaii, and just with 2 bikes we're able to power, say, a 3-person band.
Wow.
Yeah, we've done like a 4-person band before. With 6 bikes, we could do like a full-size band, like 10-person band full on. With 10 to 12 bikes, we could presumably power like the Waikiki Shell.
Wow.
And that's kind of our goal, is to get more bikes here and to be able to power bigger events and make that a draw to musicians around the world to say, hey, we want to play at that venue because they produce a clean, carbon-free kind of concert. And so we're hoping to kind of make Hawaii a target destination for conscious musicians.
Excellent. And the nice thing about that also is then your participants become more deeply, more actively involved, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
they're not just sitting there passively absorbing the music. Some percentage of them are actually helping produce it.
Right, and that's the whole point of this, is that we as audience members, we go to a show and we're a passive listener, and we're watching the musicians. They don't know that we're out there. You know, we're just one of 1,000 heads out there. But now, with this, where you're actually on the bikes producing the power, it's a symbiotic relationship with that musician, where they're, you know, looking down at you saying, I couldn't put this show on without you guys. And so, you know, you get that kind of connection. The audience feels like they're more a part of the show.
So when the audience says, crank it up,
Yeah,
bicyclists just have to
exactly.
start pedaling faster.
Yeah, and the beauty of these systems is when they first started, it went through, there's a shot of us at the recent TED Talk.
Right.
So that's my brother on the left, powering me.
Okay.
But the beauty of these, and I explained this in the talk, is that, you know, if he were to stop pedaling, the music or the speech still goes on. And that's because we're running these through a generator, which actually serves as like a battery pack.
Okay.
So what you're basically doing is you're pedaling and you're filling up this generator with fuel.
Charging it, yeah.
And then even if you stop pedaling, you still have all that fuel to last on. So we realistically could throw these concerts because, you know, let's say people are switching off the bikes, it's no problem. The show is going to go on, the sound's going to go on. Whereas in the past, these bikes, as soon as you kind of stopped pedaling, you could, you know, hear the volume start going down.
Okay, so it's sort of either a battery or a capacitor kind of device in some sense.
Exactly. The old one is a capacitor, and there's a pro to that, you know, kind, because the audience really feels like I have to pedal or this thing's gonna die. So it's really a connection. But we wanted to kind of go the safe, secure route so that we could, you know, and already I've had trouble kind of convincing sound people that, like, no, this is gonna work, and they're like, are you gonna blow my sound equipment, or are you gonna die halfway through the set? And so it's a nice way to make them feel safe and secure that the music will go on.
And at the same time, there's a profound educational message in this, right? The people who do this begin to appreciate what electricity is really all about, what it really means, what power is, right, and what it takes to produce power.
Exactly, and that's why I equate it to kind of the, you know, the food sovereignty issue that we're facing here in Hawaii, and people are talking about, you know, how 90% of our food gets shipped in, and 90% of our energy also gets shipped in, right? So we need to start thinking about energy being sustainable as far as energy goes. And just in the same way that we've seen the food model, people start, you know, demanding organic, fresh, local food. They're doing that because they're getting in the gardens and actually having to produce that themselves, right? And so when people have to produce their own food, they're not going to waste it. And we're taking that same kind of, you know, idea and applying it to energy and saying, if you have to produce your own energy, are you now going to be, you know, leaving your light on in your room or leaving the AC on when you walk out of your house?
Right, and just as they don't need to be a full-time farmer to gain that appreciation, they don't need to, maybe just a round or two of doing this bicycling will help really trigger it in their heads. Like, oh, right, now I remember, and
It's just really it takes one time on the bike. You hop on that bike, and as soon as because I think us as humans, we don't understand what a watt of energy means. What does that mean? You know, when you get a 60-watt light bulb, what does that 60 watts mean? When you hop on this bike and you actually feel in your legs what it takes to produce 60 watts of energy, now you look at energy totally differently. It changes the whole ball game.
Right, so it's good, and it's a very powerful message, particularly for the kids then.
Yeah,
and you do some, I guess, some work in schools. I think maybe we have a picture or two of a classroom that you were in?
Yeah, and I think we have a video we'll show in the next segment. But yeah, we've been able to get into the classrooms at Haleiwa Elementary and Ka'ala Elementary, 3rd and 4th grade classrooms, and we do like about an hour demo where the kids get to come and hop on the bike, feel what it feels like to make a watt of energy. And so what we do is we bring like light bulbs, and we look around in the classroom and see, you know, hook up the TV and say, do you think you can power this TV? And they'll try. Do you think you can power this AC? And they'll try. And, you know, they start understanding energy just a little bit more. They start understanding where it's coming from. And we teach them about, you know, energy sustainability and all that. And it's just an added component that I think we're not talking about in schools, you know? And on top of that, it's a health benefit. And so you can use these bikes to not only talk about energy awareness, but the health benefits of, you know, biking or living a healthy lifestyle.
Sure. As a culture, we do not exercise nearly the way we should, and this would be a really helpful thing for people to do.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit before the show, and I was asking Hayden about the idea of the gyms using these kind of bikes to generate their own power and become essentially reduce their own costs. And apparently this is happening, at least in some places now.
Yeah. I've heard that in Seattle, they do have at least one gym that is powered by the people in the gym. And we actually have had some serious talks about UH Manoa doing the same thing. As you know, they just passed the legislation to make the whole university 70% more efficient, right? And so I was actually approached and asked if we could outfit the gyms with these bikes. Of course, we only have 2 right now, so we couldn't do that. But it is a possibility down the future, and I think, you know, it's a very smart possibility because you're using. Why not use that energy?
And presumably, while these bikes presumably cost a fair amount by the time you get the bike and the connector and the storage capacitor, battery, generator, whatever that may be, if it was a gym buying them where they wanted to buy 10 or 20 of them at a shot, or you get even several of those together, suddenly you should begin to get these bikes probably at a much better price.
Yeah, definitely. And really the idea, I mean, bikes are the key for us, but you know, when we're talking about hooking up gyms, it's just that same science behind it. I mean, you could really hook up the row machine or the bench press, so you could figure out a way and get clever with it and design everything in the gym that every time someone's lifting, the treadmill, exactly. And why not, right? You're producing this energy and it's basically going to waste.
Right.
Why not capture it and use it to power the AC that's keeping you cool?
Resistance that
the resistance
that you're working against should be the resistance that you're actually, that work is generating power.
Exactly. Right. Otherwise, we're just wasting it.
Yeah, that could be a beautiful situation for a gymnasium to do. Gyms could become exporters of power, right?
Yeah, yeah, they could. They could help power the rest of the building that they're in or something, yeah.
Wonderful idea, wonderful idea. And so what kind of, do you have any evidence? I mean, it's clear that it should happen when people do this, and they should learn about power, and they should become better stewards of their own energy. Do you see, I mean, I suspect you haven't tracked this in any rigorous way, but you have evidence of it in some sense? Anecdotes?
That people are getting it?
Yeah.
So far, so good. I mean, every event that we go to, basically anybody who hops on the bike comes away with this profound kind of like aha moment, you know, and it's just about getting to more events and getting more people on the bikes. I think at this point, people in Hawaii are still kind of shamed to go and hop on a bike in front of a bunch of people. But again, if we had 6 lined up and you could go and hop on that bike with 6 of your friends, it's a little less scary to be up there.
So why is it that people don't want to get on a bike?
I think it's the culture here in Hawaii. I think you know, we have a lot of shame in our culture here in Hawaii. Like we don't want to make we don't want to make shame. And I think just bikes are not a big part of our culture here in Hawaii. And I'm hoping that that can change. I'm hoping that as we're moving towards a more sustainable future, we look to bikes to not only solve our traffic problems, but our energy problems. But it's a good question, you know, because we've done stuff in Eugene, Oregon, where, you know, you have a line of people lining up to hop on these bikes. Like, they can't wait. And then you do it in Hawaii, and it's like, everyone's like, oh, what is this?
Drag,
yeah,
kicking and screaming.
Exactly. So it's a little bit about just kind of getting our name out there, people seeing these at more events and knowing that, you know, they have the option to come and hop on the bike. I think a lot of people look at us and they're like, oh, so they brought the bikes, so they're just going to keep pedaling the whole time. And it's like, no, that's not the idea for me to pedal the whole time. The idea is for the audience to pedal. Yeah, so I think slowly it will start gaining momentum.
Well, this sounds like a great idea, and we're going to explore it in more depth when we come back. But right now, we're going to take a little break. You're on Likeable Science. I'm your host, Ethan Allen. With me today in the studio is Hayden Hopkins, the CEO of Pedal Power Hawaii, and we're talking about a human-powered revolution, bicycles for electricity.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon, and on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I'm a senator from the Big Island and the ER physician. Every other Tuesday, I get to host a show here on the ThinkTech program about healthcare. We call it Healthcare in Hawaii. It's really enjoyable for me to bring other healthcare leaders from around the state to talk about our pressing issues. Hawaii has long been the health state, but we need to keep up the momentum, the inertia, and with your help and with your participation, we can come and share all of the big issues that are pressing day to day. Thanks for joining us every Tuesday, alternating weeks from 2 to 2:45.
And you're back on Likeable Science. I'm your host, Ethan Allen. With me today in the ThinkTech studios is Hayden Hopkins, the CEO of Pedal Power Hawaii. We're talking about the human power revolution, about using bicycles to generate electricity for public and private events.
Yes.
And Hayden's group, Pedal Power Hawaii, has several of these bikes, and people can use them at concerts, at weddings, at any sort of public celebration, any sort of outdoor celebration. Somebody sits there and pedals away and generates the power, and you essentially have a no carbon power generation.
Exactly.
And he was talking about the technological advances. They've gotten greater efficiency in the hub that allows this to happen. The storage capacitor / battery / generator now enables a constant flow of power to come out so that the music volume doesn't wax and wane with the peddler's energy.
Right.
But we were also going about some other places this has been used. And so here's a picture.
This is actually my band up in Oregon, and those are my good buddies there on the bikes. So that was a really cool concert. That was Bike Fest in Eugene. And so that was, like I said, just 6 bikes there. And 6 bikes were able to power, I think we were a 8-person band, keyboards, bass amp, everything. And it was just really cool to have my best friends right there alongside with me powering, our music. It's just a really cool experience. They get off the bike, and after the concert's done, you're like, hey, thanks for powering me. It's just this awesome relationship you get to have with the audience.
Right, like you can have people power their own favorite song, right? If they'll get up there and pedal,
exactly.
you'll play, they'll play their favorite song.
And that's kind of how I see it. I'm hoping that when we do get these bikes at these concerts, that we can make them kind of the VIP seating, where it's like if you want a bike, you get front row access. You're up there in the front row because you should be. You're helping to power it.
Right. Yeah. You're really part of the show.
Yeah, and we were talking about having trouble getting people on those bikes. I think that would help solve the problem. If you show up to the concert late and you're way in the back, imagine at the Waikiki show. Well, if you want to come down and power, you can get on the front row for like that 10-minute segment.
There we go.
Awesome.
Good idea. I think we have another photo of another event, maybe, where you had these being used. So, yeah.
So this is at the Pali Lookout. We haven't done a concert there, but this was just kind of, I wanted people to dream of that scenario. The beauty of these bikes, besides everything we've talked about, is that, you unbind yourself from the limitations of fossil fuel, and you unbind yourself from having to be within reach of an outlet. And so now all of a sudden you can start thinking about things that you never thought before. You could throw a concert up at the top of the mountains at the Pali Lookout. You can throw a film fest at Sandy's Beach Park. You could throw, a wedding down at Waikiki Beach and power your sound. It just kind of breaks us from that bind of having to be near an outlet, right? And allows us to do events in awesome places. Right.
It's like you have a little generator that takes no fuel, that can move around to anywhere it's needed.
Right. It takes human fuel.
So I got to say, I'm just spinning off of this. I do a lot of work out in Micronesia, so I work in some more remote spots out in Palau, Chuk Yap, and the Marshall Islands. And I could see this technology being useful in some of those spots, particularly when you get to outer islands where they have no real power. But you could get one of these bikes, and then the island would have a little power source. Different people could use at different times. If they wanted a particular event where they wanted electric light, you pedal it over there, power that. If kids want to get on the internet and start surfing the web, well, okay, it needs some power, and they could generate their power. It could be a real sort of whole other market for it then.
Totally, yeah.
Excellent. Do you, I think you got a video though now on the educational use sort of getting one of these things in the classroom. It's pretty exciting to see how the kids react to it.
Yeah.
So explain what's going on here.
Well, this is at the Haleiwa Elementary event that we were talking about. And so, these are the kids jumping on the bikes, and I'm yelling out the wattage they're producing to them.
They're pushing away. They're pushing away.
Yeah.
They're pedaling
It was
fast.
cool to see how supportive their classmates were of them, And
Excellent.
we took some interviews of them here.
Ah, okay, right. And I recall, right, this little girl is talking about this sort of almost visceral understanding of
Right.
the need to conserve energy and not to waste energy.
Yeah.
Now.
And I think this guy here, he says, I'm not going to leave my light on in my room because my parents are going to take that money out of my bank account, And,
Ooh.
okay, kids are thinking about it on the monetary
Right.
side. That's fine. If that's the way that gets you to turn your light off in your room, so be it.
Yeah. It's more, in that case, getting kids into the habit of doing it.
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
And all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So are these bikes, and they're pretty rugged, so they're cargo bikes, they can be used and ridden out on the street. So
Yeah.
that really, again, that sort of opens up whole realms of thinking about how to do this.
Yeah.
And I see your point, particularly if you could make bicycle transit more commonly accepted here, then these could fit into the realm sort of more comfortably in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And become an easier, more acceptable way where people could think about that. Yeah, we'll go do a beach party at night, and
Yeah.
we'll bring one of these bikes along, and that way we can crank up our music
Yeah,
and
exactly.
have some lights and all that kind of stuff without having to use batteries or.
Right. It's basically just mobile power, So this is at the Jack Johnson concert at the Waikiki Shell. We were powering this smoothie booth.
Huh.
And so that was a really cool relationship we made with the smoothie booth people, because what we did is we said, if you come and hop on the bike and pedal for 10 minutes, you get $1 off your smoothie. And we had a line of people lined up. It's just, again, the monetary thing
Right.
always gets them. If they
Sure.
get $1 off their smoothie, they'll ride for 10 minutes. And it was fun as the night went on and people got a little more drunk. They they were just like powering away at these bikes, trying to break the record. It was cool to see.
That's right, 'cause you could set up competitive kinds
Totally.
of things. Who can do the most power? one
Yeah.
minute, and
Well, it's funny. We get people hop on and they'll hop on for 2 minutes and they'll crank out 250 and then they'll be dead. And then a little kid will get on there and he'll go for 15 minutes. And we want that sustained power, right? We want it to be nice and even and sustained. So.
Sure, because you're not when the people are getting off and getting on, you're not making any power.
Exactly,
With it, right?
yeah.
You'd rather have fewer riders riding for longer periods than
Yeah.
many riders riding for short periods.
Yeah.
But then that goes against sort of the education thing, right?
Yeah.
Giving people that experience, so that
They just want to
that
crank it
knowledge,
out.
right?
Yeah.
So it's great. It's that sort of flexible in a sense that it can really serve those different sorts of needs.
Yeah.
And do you ever, in events, try to use this with other sort of alternate sources of energy? So
Yeah, so the beauty of our system, again, because we're not using a capacitor, we're using actually what's called it's a goal zero solar generator. And actually, you can find these at Battery Bills. And so we had a nice partnership with Battery Bill. He kind of lent us some of these batteries for the TED Talk. And the beauty of these batteries is they're made for solar panels to hook up to. So same idea, you have this
Power.
movable, generator, but say you're out camping, you plug in your solar panel and you can power it up. Now, all we've done is configure our bike to be able to fit into that solar. And so what you could do is daisy chain solar and your bike together, and power it up all day with the solar, and then when the sun goes down, then you power with your bike. It's definitely interchangeable.
cooler at night and easier to ride without
Yeah,
working
yeah,
up a sweat.
exactly.
I like it. That's wonderful. So what do you see as the big challenges for this technology?
Like I said, I think just the culture here in Hawaii
More
is
cultural than mechanical. at
It
this
is.
point.
It's cultural. It's also it is mechanical too. I think, like I said, it's just gonna be like solar panels, where right now it's a little bit unaffordable for the normal everyday person. We're able to purchase these bikes, at a good wholesale price and bring them to Hawaii. But you think about the shipping to getting them here. So I think as they start getting more and more popular, they'll get cheaper. And then my hope is that the normal everyday person can just purchase these for their house. A good example is my dad. He rides a stationary bike at home when he's watching sports, especially when it's raining on the Big Island and he can't get outside. So imagine now if that stationary bike was powering the TV that he was watching,
Right.
right? And I'm sure there's a lot of people like that who ride stationary bikes, and it'd be cool to create power as you're getting healthy at the same
Sure.
time.
But the cost point would have to come down where,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
buying a multi-$1,000 bicycle and generator,
Yeah,
you can...
so it's exactly
yeah.
like solar panels,
Right.
you know, we're just waiting for the technology to catch up and make it cheaper.
But that transfer technology too probably is going to continue, although you say it's made some big leaps, I suspect,
Yeah.
given how the material scientists are playing with matter these days. I
Yeah.
suspect they're going to make that transfer better and better and better and
Yep,
more and more
absolutely.
efficient. So higher and higher percentages of your mechanical energy will be able to be directly converted into
Yeah.
electrical energy.
Yep, so we're on our way. We're on our way.
Excellent. That's super. So let me ask then, where do you see pedal power is going in, say, the next 5 years?
Well, that's a really good question, because I see it going in a number of different directions, and we're kind of trying to wrap our head around which direction we should focus on. I think for me, being a musician myself, I really see, you know, powering concerts as like the main goal for this. I think if we can just get Hawaii to power its public events, whether it's rallies or protests or speeches or film fests or concerts, off of bikes, I think that would be a huge, huge step in the right direction. So if just that happens in the next 5 years, great. But we can tackle the health issue, you know, taking these into schools, the educational side of things, teaching about energy awareness. There's also, what we haven't touched on is the natural disaster situation, where these bikes can be useful in relief situations. So we take a look at the tsunami that happened in Japan. We were hearing that a lot of the problem was that these rescue vehicles couldn't get to their victims because of the rubble. Now imagine you had a bike that could be able to navigate through that rubble, but you have power to give to people when you get to them.
Right.
It's the power, whatever, the defibrillator or you know, their heart machine or whatever it is. It's also a nice backup for people who are on, you know, health machines that the power cannot cut out on them, or, you know, they'll die. So
Right.
to have this in their house, it's kind of a backup generator, but it's not as noisy as like your gasoline generator.
Right, yeah, you can't run, I mean, you always read about people in, back in the Northwest, every winter you read about people running generators in their houses
Yeah.
and dying
Dying,
of
right.
carbon monoxide fumes.
And, you know, just, what was it, 3 months ago when the hurricane hit the Big Island and hit Puna, my hometown, really hard, people were without power for 3 weeks, you know, and this is just, this is our neighbor island we're talking about. They're out without power for 3 weeks, and all the generators have been rented out already. So people just had to sit there for 3 weeks without power. Now imagine if we had these bikes there.
Right.
So, you know, not gonna power your whole house, but it'd be able to power the things you need, the radio to understand what's happening, the TV to get updates, you know, power your cell phone so you can make contact. It's just nice to have this kind of system when it comes to natural disasters.
Super, that's great. We're gonna take a little break here, but we're gonna come back. You're with us on Likeable Science. I'm your host, Ethan Allen, here on ThinkTech Hawaii. Hayden Hopkins has joined me here, the CEO of Pedal Power Hawaii, and we've been talking about human-powered revolution via bicycles.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevelin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every Thursday.
Aloha, I'm Kili'i Akina, president of the Grassroot Institute and host on Ehana Kako, a weekly program on the ThinkTech Hawaii broadcast network. Ehana Kako means let's work together. Think of the sad alternative, let's not work together. Here in Hawaii, with all of our diversity and the richness of the people, it's important for us to come together around issues on the basis of what's right and what's good and what's going to serve the common good. And that's what we try to do at Ehana Kako. Every week we interview movers and shakers, people in government, business, and other sectors of society to talk about how to create together a better government, economy, a better world here in Hawaii that can bless the rest of the world. I thank you for your attention to ThinkTech Hawaii, and we look forward to seeing you every Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on the ThinkTech Hawaii Broadcast Network. We're Ehana Kako, and we wish you well. Aloha.
And you're back on Likeable Science. I'm your host, Ethan Allen, here on ThinkTech Hawaii. With me today is Hayden Hopkins, the CEO of Pedal Power Hawaii. We've been talking about a human-powered revolution, his really interesting, not just an idea, his really interesting product that he has out there of these bicycles, actual rideable bicycles that also produce electrical power, and using these to produce power. And we were exploring in the last segment a wide variety of different venues and ways to use them. But I got to say, in thinking back about this, I wonder how you got involved in this, because it doesn't strike me that there's sort of any clean path into that would have led you to this. It's not like being a doctor or a fireman or.
Well, it all started in Eugene, Oregon, when I was going to college up there. Eugene's a very, very progressive place, as you know. They're kind of on the cutting edge of sustainability, of malama aina kind of stuff. And when I was up there, I had a roots reggae band, and I met a guy. I actually known a guy, Dave Villalobos, who worked for the outdoor program at the University of Oregon, and he actually recruited me and said, "Hey, would you guys want to do a concert that's bike powered?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, that'd be awesome." He's like, "Okay, and yeah, here's a picture of us actually doing that event." And we did a couple other events with Dave. We actually got to do one down at the Willamette River. I'm sure you know the spot I'm talking about. I can't think of the name, but it was just, that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, this is so awesome to be able to play music down by the river, you know, free of any wires or anything. So when I moved back to Hawaii after, I guess it was about 2 years ago, I really just thought, like, you know, we need to have these bikes here. So I got in contact with Dave, and I said, you know, how can we make this happen? Me and my brother actually throw the Wild and Scenic Film Festival at the Doris Duke Theater every year, and that's kind of how it started. We wanted to power a band to play at the film festival. So we got one bike here, and then we were like, okay, we can do a lot with one bike, but, you know, we can do a lot more with 2 bikes. So now we got 2 bikes here, and now we're like, okay, what can we do with 6 bikes? You know, so we're keep trying to grow the fleet, and more opportunities are opening up as we're doing it.
That's super. So it was rather an almost accidental path into this, but driven oddly by your music, which is probably why you keep thinking about it in terms of wanting to power.
Yeah, driven by music, and really it was Dave's vision to kind of use this for music. And I remember asking him why music? Why not use these to power, you know, blah blah blah. And he said, well, music is a vehicle to get the message out to thousands of people. You know, music in itself is so powerful that the message, you know, you think about a Jack Johnson concert, how many people believe in what he stands for, believe in that message.
Right, it would work very well with his sustainability.
Exactly, and so this just adds perfectly to that. I think it's just, when we're talking about sustainability and talking about, you know, needing to take care of our natural resources, I just see energy as a key piece of that, and I don't think a lot of people are, you know, we're thinking about food and water, and shelter. We're not thinking about energy so much.
Yeah, well, actually, it's very interesting. The National Science Foundation is here, actually very trendy here. The National Science Foundation recently put out a call for proposals on food, energy, and water as a sort of a triad that must be addressed for sustainability, for the whole science and engineering education for sustainability. And we may be actually pursuing one of those projects pretty soon.
Awesome.
But that would really could work very neatly into it. And then the beauty of it, as I see it, is once you use it in that way around music and very sort of large-scale public events, get more people familiar with it, it becomes more
of a trendy thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Cool. This is cool. And then yes, you know, some people start buying them for their organizations to power your business or part of your business. Some people start buying them for their homes to have them, as you say, as backups for when the power goes out.
Yeah, and we're actually pushing to get these bikes into all of our DOE schools, you know, to have as a resource for teachers to use, to talk about energy, to talk about health. But not only that, but you have this, that, you know, you want to run your after-school dance, you want to run a film fest at your school, you have this now.
And you're saving money for the schools then.
Exactly.
And you're getting the kids more involved.
It's a win-win-win-win situation.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so neat to think about it. And of course, then, again, you're introducing them to kids at a relatively young age, making them much more familiar with this as an option and as a sensible, very
Right.
very easy to do sort of a way to contribute to the sustainability movement.
And as I was talking to you, before the show, just I just met with a bunch of middle school kids yesterday, and they didn't know what the word conservation meant, right? And so to me, it's like we have to get into these schools and we have to talk to the young generation, and they need to know what sustainability is and conservation. And I feel like that's our only hope, is to raise the next generation of conscious people in Hawaii. And just like I mentioned at the TED Talks, we need to, Hawaiians were the most sustainable people in the world, you could argue, for hundreds of thousands of years. And it's only been in the last 150 that we've totally strayed off course. And you look at Waikiki at night,
Right.
it's just amazing how much energy we're using. And we think that this is inevitable. We think that this is progress and it's just going to continue going this way. I don't believe that. I think we as Hawaiians have been, sustainable for so long that we can certainly go back to that. But it starts with education. And so that's the idea.
Absolutely, it has to be. And I mean, I absolutely agree. My work deals a lot with issues of water out in these the more remote islands, and very much the sustainability theme is absolutely critical. These islands have very limited, the low islands have very limited groundwater, depend on rainwater for their water supplies.
Right.
Conservation becomes a mandate. You can't afford to waste water, and even in the face of that, it's sometimes surprising how much water does get wasted.
Yeah.
And so seeing this, but the bicycle has a very interesting active component to it. It's not just sort of a resource that sits there that you use or don't use. It makes you an active producer of it, and as you say, brings the whole thing sort of full circle to you. You begin to realize that this is what running this light bulb means.
Yeah.
This is what producing this television show actually means. There's a lot of power involved in this.
And talking about, the active part of doing it, like I was saying earlier, to me, it's like we have 9 billion or whatever it is people living on this earth, and we all have this energy that's, running through our body every day. Why are we not tapping into that? Why do we rely on the aina or the sun or the water to provide us energy? That seems selfish of us to think that we're gonna, gather all our energy from outside resources when we have energy within ourselves. Let's start tapping into that. And I think, I'm not saying hook us all up to batteries and, power our cities, but certainly we should be chipping in and playing our part if we're the ones consuming all the energy.
Those videos you used to see of all the Japanese workers, they're doing exercises together.
Exactly.
You can envision this.
Power the whole office.
Right.
Yeah.
Not quite like that, but no, you make a good point, and because we are a sedentary culture, this would really help be a powerful educational, motivational force to get us to be a little more active, to realize that again we can make our own lives better, make ourselves healthier, while contributing to the solutions to the problem.
And saving money.
Yeah, and saving money. There we go. Look at more. I like the more I look at this, the more I see these win-win-wins.
Win-win-win.
Sort of every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Super. And who makes these bikes?
So right now they're made up in Eugene, Oregon, actually. So my buddy Dave, he works with an engineer up there that actually is, trying to make these hubs more efficient. And he's actually working with a company called Bike Friday, locally, local Eugene company that makes these awesome cargo bikes. And so they're outfitting the hubs onto these cargo bikes. And
Cool.
yeah, they want to make it, locally made, and hopefully one day we can get, bikes being made right here in the islands too.
Yeah, because I mean, it shouldn't be that technologically challenging.
No.
I mean, I'm sure that as the technology changes, each new generation of it presents its own challenges, but the basic idea, it's not like you're building a rocket ship.
Right.
A bicycle.
People know how to build bikes.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have been building them for years.
Exactly.
So, no, that's beautiful too. It really harks back to a simple but
very
beautifully,
simple thing.
Beautifully efficient machine. And
Exactly.
bicycles have long been considered a rather amazing use of how to use human power to move people around very efficiently. So that's stunning to do. So actually, this puts me in mind, and I might have to follow up with you and get this guy Dave's contact information, and maybe could Skype him in here sometime.
He would love to be on the show.
We could dig into the science of it and
Totally.
how the hubs actually work and all, and really explore this in more depth.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That could be very cool. Well, this is all excellent. This has been such a fun conversation here. I've really enjoyed it, and have learned a great deal from you about how, not just how this works, which has been wonderful, but sort of why we ought to do it.
Right.
What some of these, and I love what you said about the cultural challenges of it, to make the bicycling aspect more familiar, more acceptable, and get people more used to stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll be part of this solution here. I'll publicly get on this bike, and I'll power this concert. I'll power my cousin's wedding, whatever it may be.
Right. And we're seeing this movement happening right here in Hawaii, where people, they wanna get involved. They wanna find ways to change their lifestyle to help benefit the greater good. It's growing. You can call it whatever you want to call it, the 99% movement or the Aloha Aina movement. We're all seeing that we need to play more of a part in keeping this world a beautiful place, and so this is just one way to kind of attack that.
Well, thank you for doing more than your share of keeping it this way. I really appreciate it. We're going to wrap it up now, but very much aloha.
Yeah, mahalo for having me.
Thank you. You've been on Likeable Science. I'm your host, Ethan Allen. Hayden Hopkins, CEO of Pedal Power Hawaii, has been my wonderful guest today, and we'll be back next week. See you then.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech Hawaii. Won't you consider helping ThinkTech? We're a 501c3 Hawaii nonprofit corporation, now in our 15th year. Our model and very existence depends on ongoing contributions from our underwriters. We are very appreciative for their support. We're hoping you will consider becoming one of our ThinkTech underwriters. Unless our underwriters prefer to be anonymous, we publicize them on thinktechhawaii.com and on our daily email program, sent to some 7,500 subscribers, our live stream talk shows, and our OC16 productions. With help from our underwriters, we have developed a high-tech video studio in Pioneer Plaza, and we now live stream 25 talk shows per week, covering science, tech, energy diversification, community, sustainability, and globalism for Hawaii. And we stream our earlier shows all night long. Our live stream is on thinktechhawaii.com. Check it out. We also upload all our shows to youtube.com, where we get 18,000 views per month. And we broadcast 12 hours per week on Olelo 54 and 3.5 hours per week on OC16. We also do monthly luncheon panel programs at the Lania Kea, and we write a monthly column for the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. We're really active. Our plans this year include improving the coverage, content, and production values of all of our programs, and including more issues and guests relating to the neighbor islands, either by Skype or in person. If you agree with our mission, I hope you'll consider helping us. If you have any questions about any of our activities, or if you'd like to discuss our underwriter arrangements, please write to me at j@fidel.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for considering this suggestion, maybe even including you among our underwriters. Mahalo, I'm Jay Fidel of ThinkTech Hawaii, and I approve this message. If you approve of it also, please give us a call.